Good morning, everyone. Can you believe it's the 23rd of June, 2020? Welcome as you come in. I'm Roy Potter. I'm trying to switch the background here a little bit, so I put one up this morning that I stopped playing with, and I still have a green halo. So I hope you'll forgive me for that and just go along with it. I noticed some people were talking about my red hair and red and that green halo. That's really that's pretty interesting. Uh, anyway, and most of you know about my hair situation anyway, so I won't go into any more of that. Yes, I have my Second Amendment cup. I suggest that you pay real close attention to that Second Amendment, and we're going to get into a little bit of that today. So hopefully everything's 5 by 5. Let me double check here and say, yeah, it looks like inside of a spaceship. You know, I actually designed it for that. That's actually supposed to be the background. You get tired of looking at the maps and the news backgrounds and that, and so I do try to change it out a little bit. And I hope that offers a little bit of interest to you. Anyway, it's great, Edelson 5 by 5. Thanks for that. Sorry, I got to watch the screen here a little bit because there. Let me tell you a few things that happened before we get into the meat today. And the first, of course, is the postponement of my interview on Shepard Ambellis's American Freedom Radio yesterday. He was running into a lot of technical problems, and I won't get into what those were. He told me about a little bit of it. And it seems like a lot of folks are having problems with their internet connection, especially trying to deal with some of the things on YouTube. So, at any rate, this morning, I didn't have internet service, and I've been playing with it. It would come on, it would go off, it would come on, it would go off, and then my OBS is acting up, which is why I've got the green halo, because I kept trying to make the adjustments, and every time I would, more problems would surface. So, at any rate, that's the best I can do for us right now, and I hope that's all right. Part of it is because of the dark background. Usually when I use lighter backgrounds, I don't have this problem. But at any rate, I have a lighter one, but I wanted a darker one this morning because of what we're going to talk about. I actually had the storm one that you see, the thumbnail of the storm, the night storm with the lightning. I was going to use that, but there was no way it would work. It just wouldn't work. So this is the next best shot because I wanted it to be dark because that's where we are. We're headed into some darkness. Okay, I made this coffee extra hot this morning, so hopefully it'll last for an hour. Okay, Lindsey Graham, also known as John McCain. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on Lindsey Graham. He's always been a problem. He's always helped out the establishment, the deep state. He's a warmonger, and some other things which I won't impugn his personal character, but and his preferences. But at any rate, he's always been a problem. He's up and down depending upon which way the wind is blowing and who his friends are at the time, which are usually Schumer, Feinstein, and of course Pelosi. So what happened, and the reason why I'm concerned about what's happened is because what I told you, I think it was last week, that with some help, because I'm not altogether into the political ramifications of some of these things, some of the inside baseball. I can understand strategy, tactics, police type stuff, history, those types of things, but the inside politics, you almost have to be inside to know what's going on. And so I have to refer to other people, and I don't always give them credit because they don't want me to. So what I'm going to tell you now is still not something I figured out. It was something that I was told, and it makes perfectly good sense to me, and I brought it up last week, and that is that after China met in that emergency meeting with Pompeo, we would know what the outcome was going to be, whether it was going to be war with China or a civil war, depending upon who Schumer, Pelosi, Feinstein, Graham, people like that, what they did subsequent within about 72 hours. And what's happened is that they are not talking about China, almost not at all. It's constantly going after Trump and us is what's going on. So Lindsey has thrown his hat back into the ring in the coup, is what I'm saying here. That's why I call him also known as John McCain. He had something to do with the Steele dossier and all that, and he was John McCain's little runner boy, and he has now taken on the mantle of John McCain. So I don't trust Lindsey Graham at all, and that's where this whole thing is right now. So the advice to watch what would happen, whether they would continue to go after Trump or go after China. They are going after Trump, which again, for all of you who follow me, you know that means they're coming for us. That's what that means. Trump is just the figurehead for us. What they do to him is what they're doing to us. He could be complicit. He might be. He might not be. I have very good people that are very close to the situation, and even they're divided on that. Okay? So I don't know if Trump is a good guy or a bad guy, but based upon the history, I'm sticking with the fact that he's complicit in all this, or at least standing down. Okay? That's how I look at it, and I think you all understand that. Not saying that he isn't surrounded, because he is, but that's his own fault, if not his own design. But anyway, we'll talk about that a little bit in a few more minutes. So getting back to Lindsey Graham, you know about this entire thing with the Southern District of New York. Trump fired the U.S. attorney there, and everybody's saying, well, it's because the news media, I'm saying, is because he was investigating Trump and the Trump supporters and all that. Well, the real reason, in my opinion, and in those that I've been talking to, is because he sat on the Epstein deal, but so did Barr, and other real criminals that are in the government, and the pedophile networks that are on the high up. I'm not talking about the little low-hanging fruit. There's all of this effort by the Southern District of New York to protect Clinton, the Wiener laptop information, and also, of course, the Epstein thing. Those are just some of the big things. So what they've done is they open those investigations up, trying to keep the decent people. I don't even know who they are anymore, to be honest, but the decent guys, the white hats, from being able to open up investigations on them, the people that are doing these cover-ups. And we're seeing that now with what Nadler's done in the House. Nadler says he's opening up an investigation, another one, and the reason is, of course, because the Department of Justice, the white hats that are in there that are trying to do the right thing, and certainly under Trump's direction to some extent, having an investigation means that they can't be questioned about what they're doing. Do you see that? That's the cover. That's exactly what the Mueller investigation was all about, is to keep the investigations into people like Comey, Rosenstein, Strzok, Page, McCabe, Hillary Clinton, Obama, Valerie Jarrett, Susan Rice, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. That's how they do it, because it's kind of hard to explain it legally, but that's how it works. When you become that engaged in a particular thing, I'm trying to explain this simply. When you get engaged in going after somebody and they file a countersuit, then or file charges, in this case investigation by the Senate and the House, basically it shields you from being questioned by those people. Do you see what I'm saying about that? I don't know what the legal term is. It's been too long since I've done it, but that's what they're doing. They're putting up this smoke screen. So, boy, I look weird this morning, don't I? But I'm not going to try to adjust the color anymore. It's just the saturation. It's just the background. I won't use dark backgrounds too much anymore. Okay, so Lindsey Graham, what happened here on this last situation, not to mention the fact all the other things that he does, they want to do an investigation and bring these U.S. attorneys in for questioning, and some other people. And Lindsey Graham, what did he say? Well, I want to do that, but I want to talk to Nancy and Nancy Pelosi, Dianne Feinstein, and Chuck Schumer. I want to make sure that they're on board with this. So, and it's the same thing like with the recess appointments. He's all down is very simple. What it is that they're not going after China. They're going after Trump and us. So we're proceeding to the Civil War. That's what's going to happen, and that's okay with them. because they figure that they've got their little niche wherever it is in the New World Order, so it's just fine with them. That's basically the big issue today. Now, I've been watching some things on Twitter, and I'm not going to mention names. I won't do that. But there are some very professional people that are calling on Trump to act, and there are others who are saying, stop freaking out. Everything's progressing fine. He was smart to hang back and all this. And I see argument. I see both sides. However, and it's like I said the other day, not taking action, Trump's going to get wiped out one way or the other. He ought to go down swinging. People are saying, well, he needs to be smart. Well, he's being smart with your lives, right? He's putting you on the front line. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the people being involved, but the point is that he hasn't given you any power. I've asked for the cover of competent authority under Article 2. He could be bringing sheriffs and the good governors and the good mayors in and saying, look, do these things under for your states, and I'll give you cover for it. But he doesn't do that. He's not stepping out to that. So we see these things happening primarily in these Democratic areas, and as I've said, those are beachheads, and also they're probes. So what's happening now? You saw it probably yesterday. The Chaz Chop thing has gotten out of control, which of course it would, and as a result, the mayor of Seattle is now saying that she's going to have the cops go back to the precinct, and that they're going to basically encourage Chaz Chop to disband. And everybody's saying, see, Trump made the right decision by holding back. You don't understand Maoist revolution, ladies and gentlemen, okay? If you're lawyers and you've never been involved in counterterrorism, if you've never been involved in dealing with Maoist Bolshevik revolutions, you don't understand the tactics, and you're misunderstanding the signals that are coming out. All right? We've turned their flank, but that doesn't mean we've won the battle. Not in the long shot. Okay, so I'm probably going to get some people upset this morning because I'm saying, yeah, continue to freak out, continue to be alarmed, and stay aware, because this isn't going away. That wasn't a victory in Seattle. Okay, it's the same thing that you see in battle. You make an attack, and then you basically you consolidate your gains. You consolidate what you've gained. What is the gain in the Seattle thing? Do you know what it is? It's the fact that it happened, and that they now have people in place, whether Chaz or Chop continues or not. They have people in place that are ready to go. I saw a situation here the other day. I think it was in Atlanta, where a guy was reporting on the things that were going on there. I think it was Atlanta. I could be mistaken. But the issue is this. He said that there were people that came up in vans dressed in black, and they acted in a military manner. In other words, they weren't the rioters and the protesters that we're focusing on, right? There was this group that came in, and they went in and they did some things. It was obviously a military operation of some sort, and it wasn't the good guys. Okay? So that's what we're seeing now. We're seeing these I've talked about the sleeper cells, that there are over 500,000 of these Chinese forward operators in our country, not to mention ISIS, drug cartels, racist organizations. BLM is just one of them, of course, which is really a front for the Maoists. So there's a lot going on here, and just because it looks like that there's been some progress made in Seattle, don't fool you. That those are called feints, is what they are. In other words, they get your attention in one area, okay, but they're actually acting in another. It's a diversion of sorts, okay. It's a probe of sorts. It's to see what the response will be. And what was the response on this? Zero, nothing. Okay, and people are applauding, saying, "Yeah, Trump made the right decision. The mayor's finally given up because of the murders that happened there and these other things." It's just shifting, ladies and gentlemen. It's lifting and shifting of fires. When you're in a tactical situation and you're getting ready to attack, before you attack, and I know I'm talking a lot of military jargon here, but just bear with me. Before the attack starts, you soften the target up, you soften the objective up. How you do that? Artillery, airstrikes, massive firepower, whatever, okay? And then as the infantry starts to move in, I'm going to do it this way, like this, okay? So the infantry's here. The objective is here. As that infantry starts to move towards the objective, the concentration of fires on that objective then shifts. They lift and shift fires to other targets, logistical trains, reinforcements, whatever the commander has designated as where to go when these fires lift and shift. That's all that's happening. This is not going away. This is not going away at all. You'll see this thing flare up just as bad as Seattle and worse in other places, and they will start hitting. There will start being attacks on the infrastructure, more attacks on police, more attacks on generally. Okay, that's not going away. Now, in that vein, again, I won't give you all the details of who's giving me this information. It wouldn't be right. But let me just make sure that you understand that it's not me. Okay, I can just see and pull these things together. I can see it happening, and I know why the tactical strategic situation is happening. What I don't know are the thought processes that are being done in D.C., for instance, when to act and when not. Okay, I don't know the political deals inside, so I have to depend on others for that. I'm being told, and again, this depends on who I talk to. I've got both sides of this. One side says that Trump's a really good guy. He's a patriot. He's just in over his head, okay. And others are saying no. He is actually complicit in this and this was his purpose. This was how he was supposed to act. Is exactly the way he is. He still likes to be liked. The whole situation with that rally there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, not being filled really got to him. But the reason why it got to him is because he is a narcissist. He wants to be patted on the back and told how good he is. So he was upset that those people weren't there. I'm not sure it's an indication that he'll lose the election, because a lot of people were watching on television, right? A lot of people stayed home. Apparently the Fox feed had more viewers than they've ever had before, things like that. So I'm not concerned about what happened in Tulsa. There were a lot of things that were going on there. You heard about the TikTok, which Mike Cernovich says didn't affect it at all. Others say it did. The real deal there is that AOC thinks it's okay for them to interfere in the election, a foreign power like that, the Chinese. What a hypocrite. She should be arrested, and that's the real problem with all this, is the people that are doing this, there's no action taken against them. And it's not going to work out well for us in the long run. So, I'm not really concerned with the low numbers there in the arena, because there were other areas that the numbers went up, but it was obvious that Trump didn't get his narcissistic fix. That's obvious that he didn't. So at any rate, I'm really worried that people are misunderstanding, that they'll think that this whole thing with the insurrection will kind of settle down and all that. Well, even if that were the case, remember, this is a military operation, so they're going to increase attacks in other areas. What's happening with the COVID, the Wuhan? Now they're saying they're breakouts again. Well, of course, even the president says, well, we're testing more. We're going to find more. The real indication is the death rate, right? And they've been trying to stoke those with everybody, no matter how they die, they want to call it a COVID. And yet, in that regard, Trump won't shut down Fauci, Birx, Gates, the CDC, and he still hasn't defunded the WHO, right? The World Health Organization. He said he was going to, but then he backed off and he said, well, we're going to examine it again. We're going to give him a chance to repent. No, you can't do that. You have to strike. And that's why I say I see a real problem with Trump still. Kushner is a problem in the White House. You all know it. Ivanka is a problem in the White House. You all know it. Kushner's calling the shots. Why? I have no idea. But that's why it's happening. A lot of people will say, well, Israel, oh, whatever. It doesn't matter. The point is, it's not Trump. Trump has brought his lead advisors in the White House are the very worst people he could have. And I've heard the arguments again. Well, he doesn't have anybody to trust. Well, this nepotism isn't good for the rest of us. It might be good for Trump, but it's not good for the rest of the country. And everything that's happened has proven it. So at any rate, some other things occurred, and I'm just going to read a couple of these things for you. A lot of this is personal information or personal feelings that I really don't want to put out. I want to get to the meat that you all can understand, not necessarily a particular person's thoughts on a matter. So that's why I'm taking this real slow. Like I said, there are two sides. One side that says that he's not a deceiver, and the other side that's saying there's something really, really wrong here. Okay, but let's just get past that for a minute. One of these folks talked about it, and I put it out on a tweet yesterday, very similar, that this whole thing that's happening with the Maoist insurrection and the way Trump is addressing it is he's trying to play electoral math with a Maoist communist insurrection. And what I mean by that is he's trying to show, like he even says, I'm going to let this simmer. I want people to see what's happening with these democratic areas, not realizing that while he's failing to act, Xi in China and the sleeper cells in the United States and all of those others I was talking about are saying, hey, he won't act. He's more concerned about his political capital than he is in protecting the country. So let's get ready to go to the next phase. Okay, so that's what I'm meaning by that. But he's trying to play this electoral math, thinking it'll help him in the election. But he's doing it with your lives, your livelihood, your futures, with a communist Maoist insurrection, and that's the problem. The other part of that is that Trump no longer has options. He didn't take decisive. He didn't have the initiative early on. Remember, I said right from the beginning he needed to come in, take 3 months, okay, get his feet on the ground, but then he had to act aggressively, and he never ever did. Not really. He never got the initiative. He never seized the initiative and went with it, and he certainly never hammered anybody. He stayed the victim, and people will say, well, he's forced into that. No, you can't look at it that way. Okay? It needed to be done. What he did, his major deal there is he may have had never the generals. I've never trusted the generals. Kelly, McMaster, Petraeus, any of them. Mattis, it didn't matter who they were. I didn't trust any of them. But the rest of the military, at least the lieutenant colonels on down, they had respect for him. They might still, but I think it's waned because what they saw, I saw it. You can't be a weak leader like that. He had the military solidly behind him initially. Not the generals. Not the civilian bureaucrats. Those are the people he needed to get rid of. But he thought he could placate the system, or that was, as I've said, I think that was his plan. So what's happened now is we've come down the line, and he's not a leader anymore. He's wishy-washy. He can't make decisions. And the decisions he does make, it was like the other day, and I'm going to read it here in a minute. He tweeted out a thing that, it's real nice that the trade deal with China is possibly, salvageable. But while he tweets that out, they're trying to pull down the statues around, and they're right there in Lafayette Park, going back after St. John's Church and the statues. They did the situation up there with the Teddy Roosevelt thing. I mean, the whole culture is falling apart, and he's talking about trade with China. He's not connected. So I tweeted out to him and I said, "What the hell are you doing? Look out your window." You know, this isn't trying to get people to get back into a positive attitude. This is cognitive dissonance. This is almost a mental incapacity to handle the situation. That's how I view it. And maybe that's not fair, but that's just how I view it. So, at any rate, what happened again yesterday is that seeing all of this transpiring, knowing that Trump is decisively engaged, he can't move anymore. He has no, because he lost the initiative early on and he hasn't taken the steps as president to fix things. He has now gotten to a point where he can't move. It would be very similar to you're being attacked and you're attacked from every angle, and there's nobody that's out there that can come and help you. You're going to either do or die right there. The charge of the light brigade is do and die, but in this situation, he's either got to do or die, and there's no turning back now. They've got him. Okay, they've got him because he's allowed himself to be worked into that. Fauci, if he wasn't complicit in all this, Fauci actually put in the final, well, it was just almost the final nail on the coffin by getting him to go along with this shutdown and ruining the economy over a coronavirus. By the way, don't take the test, don't take the vaccines, and don't wear masks. And, you know, let stores and these other places that are doing this, let them know how displeased you are. Okay? I do all the time. So he did all of that. He pushed it. You know, people say, well, he didn't do it, the governors did it. No, it was his guidelines that gave the cover to the governors and the mayors to do what they've done. And everybody wants to just excuse on that. No. Okay? I don't want to spend a lot of time on the Wuhan, but the fact of the matter is that now Trump is decisively engaged, and if he can't break out on his own, ladies and gentlemen, and he won't, I'm telling you, he won't. Either because he's complicit or because he just doesn't have the concept, it's going down. So I'm not going to be like some of these people are saying, don't freak out because things are really going well, pointing at Chop and Chaz saying, see, it's de-escalating there. No. It's lifting and shifting of fires by the Maoist insurrection. I'll just say, I'm not going to name names. I'm not going to talk about different people. It's really late in the game at this point. It's really late in the game. And I'm being advised by people in the know that it's likely totally lost now. So we're being told to get organized locally. All right? Get your defensive groups together. Nothing offensive. Get your defensive groups together. Get all the equipment that you think you need. You know, of course, food, water, medical supplies. And when I say medical supplies, I also mean battle dressings, tourniquets, sutures. You get my drift? If you can afford other things like communications equipment, if you can afford, think about, do a recon of the area that you're going to try to make your stand in, as I've said before. Understand the avenues of approach of the enemy. Understand your avenues of escape. Okay? Your defensive positions to take care of those avenues of approach. And I'm dead serious about this. If you have military people around you, get together with them, and you don't need to learn, real complicated tactics, but you need to understand the basics of small unit tactics, squad size and fire team size. You absolutely have to do that. If nothing else, two people knowing how to cover and move, okay? And again, think little simple things like concealment, hiding behind a bush is not cover from deadly fire. You need something that's going to stop the bullets, right? So there are little things like that, but you can't just do this haphazardly. You can't think that you're going to be able to go out there against a regular mob like we see at Chop and Chaz, that kind of thing, or like they were trying to pull those statues down in D.C. at Lafayette yesterday. Yeah, you could probably deal with a group like that. But if there are more effectively trained people that are now going to start hitting us, it's not going to work that way. You're going to have to be a little more organized. Okay, so I was advised to move on towards that. Despite what's happening in Chop, we can expect to see more zones. Not just they might not talk about them in the same way. Pardon me, as you know, coffee makes me burp. But there are going to be more places where things are going to happen. I'm just going to put it that way. So Trump is basically now decisively engaged on his own, and he's got to break out. I don't anticipate him doing so. And however you feel about Barr, I don't like Barr at all. He and Trump basically covered up the Epstein thing. I mean, the way they handled that was immature, and not just immature; it was just wrong. I mean, that was probably the most important witness to take down the New World Order that they had in their possession right then, and they let it slip away, either by, if he killed himself, but nobody believes that except Barr or Trump. He was either killed or they took him and hid him away somewhere. Those are the options. So I don't know what to think about Barr. He fired the guy there in the Southern District of New York, the attorney, U.S. attorney, under Trump's instruction to fire him. But the real meat of the problem he's still not tackling. And what did he just say the other day? That we're not going to see anything from Durham until just before the election in November, if even then. So I told you it was going to keep getting kicked down the road, and now the excuse is the Wuhan, right? Well, no, that's all it is an excuse. So regardless of all that, Barr at least appears to be isolated. Okay, he's gotten to the point now where, because they haven't taken decisive action to get these people out of their positions, if he isn't complicit, he is now surrounded and basically cut off from being able to do much. Things aren't looking good. So these are very important understandings for us right now to apply to our particular situation. Now, in Salt Lake City over the weekend, I was actually planning on meeting with some law enforcement officers, some friends, extended friends, and because if the sheriffs and the mayors and the governors are not going to give us competent authority and all that, well, the next thing to do is at least to be with some people like some good cops, and there are not too many, but I know some really good ones. But at any rate, I was going to meet with them over the weekend, and then it didn't happen, and I figured it was because something big was going on, and it was, and I mentioned it a little bit, I think, yesterday. There was a fairly large protest. The first one happened about 2 weeks ago, where they overturned the police car down there next to next to the county building, and on State Street. And then this has been continuing. Well, then it got really bad again Friday night and Saturday night. The governor had to call up, I've been told, 100 state troopers, Utah Highway Patrol, to guard the Capitol and to keep the throng away from there. And the county, the city rather, Salt Lake City, had to ask for support, and the county had that sits in the city limits, the county building, had to ask for multiple jurisdictions to send officers to protect the county and city properties there, the city hall and the county center. There were apparently well over 1,000 demonstrators, and they were violent. I know personally one police officer that was injured. And none of this is making the news. All right, so I use that as an example of what I'm saying about lifting and shifting of fires. I told you that they'd start moving to other places. Now, Salt Lake City has a Democratic mayor, and they've had one for a long time. I just have never understood that. But then Salt Lake County, they have a mayoral system in the county as well, and that mayor as well is a Democrat. So if you're paying attention to what's going on, this is actually getting worse. It's not getting better. And we can look forward, I'm afraid, to some bad things happening here soon. When these things happen in Utah and in the Salt Lake area, things are going to get out of control pretty quick. So don't believe anybody that tells you that Trump handled this right. He was trying to roll the dice along electoral college lines, math lines, political decisions, rather than taking care of his oath to protect not just the Constitution, but to act to protect the people of the country. He's failed to do that. And I'm going to touch on a few things here about that real quick right now. I still think he can repent, but at this point he's lost so much respect by the people that would have backed him that I don't know that he can manage it now. I don't know that he can manage it now. If I saw a positive move on Trump's part right now to try to act, it might rally the good people around him. But so far, what's happened? The Flynn's of the world, the Roger Stones of the world, thrown under the bus. Assange, Richard Higgins, and others, the American people for that matter, all to try to get political capital, to play a political math game rather than take decisive action. I think it's too late. I think they've got him and they've got us, and we have to realize that we're just going to have to take care of ourselves. And I've repeated that over and over and over again. Let me read you this. There are a couple things that Trump put out. And this is what I saw this yesterday. Okay, so they're outside in Lafayette Park, the protesters. They're defacing St. John's Church. They're trying to pull down the Andrew Jackson statue. They're doing all these other things, fighting with the cops who finally showed up, which was kind of amazing actually. But instead of addressing these problems, Trump tweets this out. While this is going on, the China trade deal is fully intact. Hopefully they will continue to live up to the terms of the agreement. I was amazed. I was distraught and I was angry. And I wrote back to him. I tweeted back to him. I said, "What the hell is wrong with you? Look out your window." He's not taking charge, which is why I said the people in the DOD, the good folks, are looking at him now and saying, "Can we follow this guy? Can we? Are we going to put our careers and our freedom and our liberty on the line? In other words, not getting thrown in jail for refusing orders. Are we going to? Is this guy going to cover us, or is he going to throw us under the bus like he has everybody else? He's not in the fight. He's off in some cloud somewhere." That was my point. And there have been some other things here. Let me see if I can find these. This is from Commodore 1853, Americat. I see you all the time. You might even be on here on a different name or that name. But this was a very astute thing. She's commenting, or he, I think it's a she, commenting on the same situation that I just discussed. And this is her quote on Twitter. "So many MAGA devotees paid and still pay a high price for supporting Trump. We have suffered censorship, deplatforming, physical attacks, bullying, and being fired from our jobs. And what else? Suffering from the stupid COVID shutdown, right? Being labeled crazy if you don't go along with the training of wearing the masks, trying to set us up. Trump has Operation Warp Speed. He's pushing ahead on the vaccines. He's not stopping. He's even willing to get the vaccines from China, anywhere, he says. So she continues. What has Trump done to protect us? Nothing, in caps. His focus is always on himself, narcissistic and egotist. Yeah. And we're entering a point now where the Maoist insurrection is doing what? They're attacking religion. See, why should that surprise anybody? This is following the exact progress that I was telling you about in a Maoist revolution. Now they're saying, well, Jesus, we got to get rid of the Jesus being white. Well, they don't know what color he was any more than we do. But they're saying that depiction of him is wrong because it's white supremacist. So they want all those stained glass windows and paintings and stuff of Jesus. And he's not really white in any of those. I mean, there were a group of Jews, Ephraimites actually, not Jews, Israelites, who were lighter complected. But, it doesn't matter. It's anything to cause division and to destroy those good things that you try to build your life around. So now they're insisting on that. I think you all know that's happening at this point. It won't be long before churches well, they already have been, but churches will be attacked. Christian gatherings will be attacked very soon. Okay, it's on the way. That's why I say they're lifting and shifting fires. Backing off in Seattle doesn't mean a damn thing, and I'm not even sure that's really happening the way people think it is. They haven't said they're actually disbanding Chaz and Chop. They say that they're taking back the precinct. That's what the mayor said. The precinct building. So all of this is lifting and shifting of fires. It's not changing the basic objectives of the insurrection. Next, they're talking about openly having white people killed. I've got this thing from Jim Holt on the Gateway Pundit, and he's quoting, and I forget this guy's name. He's a professor, I think, at some university, a black guy, and Jim Holt quotes him. I'm sorry I don't have his name. You guys probably already know, but I'm bringing these up to show you that this isn't turning around. This isn't stopping. Some white people may have to die for black communities to be made whole. Far left UGA teaching assistant on Black Lives Matter movement. So he's not a professor. He's a University of Georgia, Atlanta, I guess. Teaching assistant. In other words, he's probably working on his PhD and he's doing some internship. Black guy saying white people have to die for blacks to be made whole. Wow. Alex Jones covered the transhumanism deal. Wall Street Journal came out yesterday promoting this transhumanism situation. Actually, it was Sunday, I think. The Sunday paper of Wall Street Journal. They couched it in very positive terms. Ladies and gentlemen, they're coming for your humanity. They're coming for your lives. They want to eradicate you. We're being attacked from multiple directions, multiple avenues of approach by several I'll just say divisions of the enemy. Every different angle that they're coming at us they're coming at us with huge divisions. When I say division, I mean army-like divisions. You have platoon, squads, platoons, companies, battalions, brigades, regiments, brigades, and then brigades make up the divisions, and the divisions make up the corps. And the corps make up armies, okay? Just to give you an idea. So I'm talking about huge attacks coming with massive attacking elements, okay? This transhumanism thing is the end game to get rid of humanity. It's their version of the Christian idea of resurrection, of the Christian idea of the corruptible that Paul talks about putting on the incorruptible. This is Satan's replacement theology for that, okay? And they're going to sell it, and it's coming. And it's good. I mean, we've already got the chips. Some of us, a chip was put in me without my knowledge when I was deployed overseas in 2001. I found out about it in like 2011 when I went in for a checkup. But they're doing this to everybody. Your phone, of course, your driver's license, a lot of these things have these different chips in them, and they're going to inject them into you for the new digital currency and for tracking and tracing. And eventually to plug you into the AI computer and then to put an end to your life. That's where this is going. And so I wanted to bring that up because it is important to realize that is really the end game for everything else that's happening. They want to destroy the evil, the really evil people in this world want to destroy you. And even themselves, because they hate themselves. There's a person by the name of the Red-Headed Libertarian, and she put out something the other day that I thought was very good. She said the Marxist agenda won't work without ending the traditional Western family unit. Happy, content, self-sufficient families don't need communism, and she's absolutely right. I'll come back to this other thing in a minute. You know how I do this. I just throw out a lot of information for you. Chris Ann Hall gives a lot of information about what you can do to avoid wearing masks. She's put out, if you go to her Twitter account, she's put out some forms that if you're approached for not wearing a mask, you can show retail stores, your job, other places that they cannot force you to wear something that you know will hurt you. You are in control of your health. You have the legal right to say no, and she gives you some of these forms. Please go on her timeline on Twitter, and you can download them, and you can keep them in your wallet, and you can give them to people that are trying to tell you that you have to comply with their nonsense that puts your health in jeopardy, okay? I wanted to say that. That's real important because we need to fight this thing that they're trying to do to us to make us submit. I'll just mention Mark Pantano. There's some other people that are bringing this up too, but I'm going to mention Mark Pantano because I'm not in the business of embarrassing my colleagues in the military, okay, or using them to justify my position on these issues, because there are some that wouldn't if I use them. And there are both sides. As I said at the very beginning of this, there are those who agree with where I'm coming from, and there are those who are now trying to make excuses for Trump, which has been our trouble and our problem all along from the day he became president-elect. Okay? But Mark Pantano said it probably the best. There are others, like I said, there are some military people that are saying these same things. And then, like I say, there are those who are trying to cover for Trump now. But let me read this. Donald Trump came out and on Twitter and said, I have authorized, I laughed when I saw this too, I have authorized the federal government to arrest anyone who vandalizes or destroys any monument, statue, or other such federal property in the U.S., etc., etc. I read that and I went, what? You authorized, that's their job. So he's trying to play this game like he's doing something when he's doing nothing. Okay? Now this is Mark Pantano's response to him. They didn't need to be authorized. That is what they are supposed to do. The reason they have done nothing until now is because you told them to stand down. Unfortunately, most people don't understand how government works, so they will believe your bullshit. That's Mark Pantano. Take it for what it's worth. I think he's right on the money. Like I said, I had some other things from some of my colleagues here in the military, but I think I'm going to avoid those because I'm just not going to do that. Not right now. Some of them said some really crazy things over the last few days. It's their opinion, but they're not in a position from their training and experience to understand the real dangers of a Marxist, primarily a Maoist insurrection. They just don't understand the issues. They don't understand the tactics, the strategy. They've never read it. They've never studied it. Some have got a handle on it who haven't, but others have. It's lost to them. They have no idea what's going on. And I guess I'll end on this. If I can find it. I just had it and I pushed it off to the side. There it is. Trump's speech. I'm going to end on this. Again, I wasn't as concerned about the lack of numbers. There were a lot of factors that went into that. People were afraid of maybe getting exposed to the virus, which is a pussy-ass thing as far as I'm concerned. We've got to stop doing that. I mean, there are people that are compromised, that need to protect themselves, but you protect those people. You don't force everybody in the dang population to do this. But at any rate, a lot of people didn't show up for that. They also didn't show up because the Black Lives Matter, Antifa were there and blocking them. So all this talk about, oh, we're going to teach those Antifa and Black Lives Matter people. Well, a bunch of people apparently chickened out because they didn't really want the confrontation. The other thing, of course, as I mentioned, was the TikTok deal. And then on top of that, the good thing is that the numbers on the internet and on the television and those feeds, the numbers of those watching those were really, really high, higher than they've ever been before. So I don't think it was that there was lack of interest there or people losing interest in Trump. I think it was just the circumstances. But again, that shows you what the Maoist insurrection is causing. Okay, Americans are scared to death. They're putting their masks on. They're not going out. They're not doing things. They're closing their businesses because they don't want to do that. But you get the idea. We're following through and doing the things that the Maoists want us to do, not we as free, liberty-loving, red-blooded Americans. Okay, we're being manipulated, and we're allowing it to do. I see most of the people that I see out there right now. They look scared, and they look. Well, it's just disappointing. And I know they're just regular people, but this is really disgusting. So the speech, I was very disappointed in it. And I couldn't believe it when I heard Mark Levin and Dan Bongino and some of these other people calling it such a great speech. Alex Jones had better get down to business and start calling Trump out. He's still covering for him. David Knight doesn't. But Alex Jones, it's always Trump is, Trump, we got to get behind. No, Alex, you need to stop this bullshit and you need to call Trump out for what he's not doing. Okay, stop saying that, just tell him to do. Okay, you got to stop covering for him. But at any rate, this is what I tweeted out, I put out on the community board the other day on this channel. If you go to community and double click on that, you can go to the post that I put there. And that's how, as I've said before, when I'm not posting live like this or putting up recorded videos, I will put things on Twitter and then transfer them to the community board so that you can see those posts, where I'm going with that, if that interests you at all. And this is what I said on there as well, and a comment on my video the other day. Trump's speech in Tulsa today was a recording from 2016. In other words, he's talking the same things he did in 2016. He's not addressing the things that are a problem now. He's trying to go back and give those same old speeches by and large. And I wasn't surprised, but I was disappointed. It was a waste of time. I have heard better speeches from junior high school class officers. Furthermore, his simmer statement is obviously his preferred management governing style, which is a detriment to the safety security of Americans. From refusing to arrest coup plotters to Fauci-Gates Wuhan vaccine scam to riots and Maoist insurrection, he looks complicit in covering the takedown of America by pretending to care, but not actually acting. What should he do? What should he do to act? I was accused the other day of saying, all you do is call out Trump for not doing what you think he should do. What do you think he should do? And we've talked about that ad nauseum. A lot of us have talked about it. Let me see if I've got the list here, because I put this out too. If I've got it up, yeah, I do, right here. I was said, they said to me, you keep telling us all these problems. What do you think we should do? What is your answer? You've never given us a solution. I have given you a solution almost every time I've talked to you. And this is what I wrote back to this person that was accusing me that, wow, I just lost it. Daggone it. Shoot. Sometimes I hate these phones. Okay, this person said, you've never given us solutions. You've never told us. My answer, this is on Twitter. You can go to my Twitter line. I said, yes, you have. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. Leave Babylon. Gather with like-minded people. Barter, defense, etc. I have said we are going down. We cannot fix this. We allowed evil to reign and is well entrenched. Wicked will destroy the wicked. Prep, pray, stay out of the way. I have also said for states and sheriffs to form militias and posses composed of the people with their Second Amendment right equipment, and other 10th Amendment actions. Trump could call for the same and use Article 2, Section 2 to give competent authority cover, but he never will. Forget him. We are on our own. So that's my little rant today. How long have we been going? Geez, almost an hour. Oh, I bet you let's see how my coffee's doing here. You guys, I hope you're conversing with each other. Yeah, it's cooling down quick. Trust in God, yeah, but you have to do some actions on your own. Don't trust Trump anymore. You have to make your own preparations. You have to get with your like-minded people, just that list I just gave you. You've got to take this in your hands right now. Okay? No offensive action, but you've got to be ready to repel the invaders. Let me warn you about that. There's another part of that you need to know. In a military operation, pockets of resistance the enemy concentrates upon once they get to their main objective. Or if it's an intermediate objective to get to a main objective, they'll still mop up resistance in the area. As you repel, defend yourselves against these people, you will be targeted again. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Sort of like, they're getting ready for a counterattack. So just because you get rid of them once doesn't mean they aren't coming back, and the chances are they'll be coming back with more. Prepare accordingly. Free and Fighting says, they are not speeches, they are rallies. Big difference. Every chess game does not need to be a brilliancy to win. You better reevaluate this. You better reevaluate this. Get myself a Yeti coffee cup. Now that's practical. Yeah, I've actually thought about that. Well, you know why I don't. Yeah, that would keep the coffee cold, but I haven't seen too many Yeti cups that have the. I have my cup that says it's as I suspected. I was right all along. I have that. Then I have my Second Amendment cup. I'm trying to go along with the theme. All right, that's why I do it. So yeah, I could get a Yeti cup to keep it hot, but then you'd hear me rant and rave for probably another hour, and you'd get bored. Yeah, I'm gonna say this a little more generally. Have God in your heart and in your mind. Have that. However you perceive or conceive of Him. Have that in your heart and mind. Of course, God the Father and Jesus is how I approach things. And I will talk about that, but I'm not going to force that down anybody's throat because God's in control of that, not me. But He deals with people individually, and I don't need to be up there ranting and raving and telling people that they have to do this and that. But what I do think you have to do is to look to the higher power, to God, however you perceive Him, to help us out through this, because no man's going to fix it now. No man, no politician. I've given up on them. Okay, Trump, all of them. I will have nothing to do with this political system any longer. It's almost an abomination to do so, but that's me. And there'll be people say, no, you can't do that. You got to stay in the fight and go to vote. No. We've been doing this for thousands of years and nothing changes. So we have to get this heart and mind thing. However you look at it, I won't pontificate on that any further. Yeah, I'm not going to get into throwing out script. This isn't a scriptural time. I appreciate people wanting to do that, but a lot of the things that people quote out of the scriptures, they don't understand the euphemisms of the time. They don't understand that some of that stuff has been translated to sound differently than it really is. So I'll just say, go to God, ask Him to reveal Himself to you, put His Spirit in your heart and mind, His law in your heart and mind, accept His presence, and He will tell you the truth. You don't need to depend on me to do it. You don't need to depend on somebody who's quoting some other scripture from you. I'll do that occasionally, but I'm more interested in you if having your own epiphany, your own revelation of God. Then you don't have to trust any man's word. Yeah, okay, we've been going for an hour. I'm sorry I didn't get to chat any earlier today, but hopefully you all have been, discussing things with each other on there because that's a good thing. Like I say, that's the reason why I leave that up. Lindsey Graham, you know how I like to recap at the end, right? Lindsey Graham is playing the John McCain character now. He's not going to do anything on these investigations until he gets the approval and the input of Schumer and Feinstein and even Pelosi and Nadler probably. No recess appointments for Trump. The Democrats would have done it. No recess appointments. McConnell's responsible for that. Lindsey Graham, etc. They should have given Trump his recess appointments, and they didn't. They're not against him, ladies and gentlemen. They're against you. They're against you. You challenge their power, their influence, their money. And they saw that when they put Trump up, however you want to consider this, is how I look at it. The controllers put Trump up so that you focused on him, and then they destroyed him because that's attacking you. That's demoralizing you. And Lindsey Graham is as guilty of this as the Rothschilds, as Soros, and many of them are bowing the knee and even prostrating themselves. So that leads me to believe that the representative of the evil one is here, if not the evil one himself. And I've said that. He's here. So I think that pretty well rounds out what I wanted to say today. Maybe on Thursday, if nothing major happens, I'll concentrate on just the chat. We'll just go through and, talk about the chat. Maybe I'll take 5-10 minutes. Like I said, I can't guarantee this. Take 5 or 10 minutes to kind of wrap some things up, summarize some things, and then go to chat, and we'll have a little better interaction there. Hi, Nancy. Headlines with a voice. Yeah, Graham is a huge piece of shit. Boy, isn't that true. So the recap is basically that, okay? I think she just summed that up. All right. And as far as the Shepard Ambellis American Freedom Radio interview, as soon as he gets his technical difficulties resolved, he said he would get back with me, and I'll let you know when that comes up. I'm not sure exactly how the interview is going to go. I haven't been given any idea basically, other than that it's going to be more of like a fun time than a serious time. I'm sure we'll cover some. One of the things he said he wanted to talk about is how I ended up getting involved in all of this. And I said, well, it would take more than an hour to explain that, but I guess we could cover it, touch on it in a couple of instances, some of the pertinent things that happened to me that pushed me in this direction. But that could take a whole hour in and of itself. But we'll see. He said it was going to be a fun show and that it would be a little more lighthearted. And so I'll look forward to doing that when he gets back with me, and I'll keep you posted. Okay? All right. Let me let you out of here, and keep your eyes on the horizon, your ears to the ground. Situational awareness on high. Do a reconnaissance of your area. Wherever, if you're planning on bugging out of the cities or whatever, check your avenues of departure, your avenues of escape. Wherever you're going, do a study of the ground. Determine avenues of approach, and around, of course, your neighborhoods too. Study the avenues of approach of the bad guys, your defensive positions, and your avenues of escape. Okay, you need to do that. Practice with somebody. You got to learn small unit tactics, at least fire team and squad team levels primarily. I wouldn't worry about getting any bigger than that. You might be considered a horrible militia. Not that that's illegal, but that's how you'll be viewed. So just keep everything on the defensive, okay? No offensive plans or training, all right? Okay. That's it for now. We'll see y'all later. Uh, Probably up on Thursday to talk about whatever it is in the chat. Okay. All right. Thanks a lot out here.